Hey, everybody, welcome to another episode of Track Talk. My guest today is legendary drummer Dave Mattacks. And in this episode, Dave and I do a deep dive into many of his iconic recordings, going back to Fairport Convention, Joan Armatrading, XTC, and so much more. In fact, the live show was over 2 hours, so I've broken this down into 2 episodes. You're about to see part one of Track Talk with Dave Mattacks. So come along for the ride. I know you're going to enjoy this one. And thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. I'll see you on the other side. But I'm really excited to have him here with me. He's been a friend for a long, long time, and I've been a fan even longer than that. So without any further ado, please welcome my dear friend, the legendary drummer, Dave Mattacks is here with me on Track Talk.
Good morning, John. I'm glad we got the technical side of that sorted out.
Me too.
And thank you for that wonderful intro. As a chap who seemingly knows every single drummer in the Western Hemisphere, I'm very flattered that you asked me to be on your show.
It's a it's a pleasure. Well, you're a returning champion, Dave. You get the gold robe whenever I make those gold robes up. This is easily your second or third appearance on the show.
The gold watch as opposed to the chocolate watch. The chocolate watch is when you get that, right?
I love what you said earlier. We were off the air, but it was just so funny. It was just classic Mattacks and we can get to it later, when you said you offered some input on a song you recorded with Mary Chapin Carpenter, and it was the first time they took your advice rather than saying, right, aisle or a window seat.
Exactly.
I love that. Oh man. Yeah. I imagine that can happen, Yeah.
Along with other such great comments, such as, "Hey guys, want to hear one of my songs?" From the drummer.
Yes. Yeah, we drummers, man, we put up with a lot. We really do. But it's so good
many
to
drummers,
see.
many drummers, so little time.
A classic. I've borrowed that from you many times. I heard a great one from Gad the other day. He said to me, "John, you always cease to amaze me." I had to make sure I said it right. Oh, I lost it.
I've got another one for you. It's great playing with you, John. Your groove is timeless.
Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah. We could go on and on.
I'm afraid we could. Yes.
We could. But we're here to talk about some stellar recordings that you've done. And as I said in the intro, it truly is, Dave. It's easier to list, the people you haven't worked with than who you have worked with. It's just ridiculous trying to. I started off, I'll just say, when I do these track talks, it's typically 1 to 2 or 3 songs that I'll highlight. And it was impossible to do that with you. I kept finding these other gems, and you gave me some great direction as well, which I really appreciate, because I would have missed a couple of those. But songs yeah, and thank you, and like your work with XTC, of course. I remember the None Such record when it came out, and it's such a stellar body of work there. So that was an easy one, but all these other great recordings that I'm excited to play here and have you talk about. So thank you.
Well, no, thank you. I think as players who've let's say got a few years under their belt and have done recordings, all of us have ones that, for want of a better turn of phrase, a little bit left of center, that maybe again, cliche time, kind of fall underneath the radar and people aren't aware of, and that we feel we did good work on. I kind of played okay on that one, but maybe they didn't get the attention of an XTC or a Macca or whatever.
Yeah. I just have to tell you that our dear chap, who I was just going to reference one of his famous lines. Adam Nussbaum is watching from Vienna.
My hero.
Yeah.
He's in Vienna. Fantastic.
Yeah. Hey, Adam, try the sausages there. They're really quite good there in Vienna. Sorry. But anyway, fantastic. We get lots of people watching, lots of your fans, as I told you there would be. And let's just jump in. I thought maybe we'd start off with what I've come up with. I know there's something older than this, but this is from 1970. And I'll let you set this up. I want to say you've told me this is the second recording you did with Fairport Convention.
Right.
Yeah, and this is Poor Willie and the Hangman. And should we play it, and then you can maybe talk about it a little bit afterwards?
If you want to play a little bit of it, yeah, and then I can tell
Sure.
you a little bit about the background to it. Absolutely, yeah.
Great.
Yeah, cool.
Okay. So yeah, as I say, this is Dave Mattacks, Fairport Convention, which of course Dave had a incredibly long association with. I mean, 50, and you still are really from that standpoint, but 50 odd years, and yeah, and this is 1970. Here we go. Fab tune. Wow.
It's a really good song. Richard Thompson wrote that with Dave Swarbrick, who was in the band at the time. I'll try and give you a concise um, little take on this. The very first record I did with Fairport, which was about 9 months or maybe a year before that, was called Legion Leaf, and Sandy Denny was the lead singer. We finished the album, Sandy left, the bass player left, they went in opposite musical directions, and the band felt it was impossible to replace Sandy. So the lead vocals got taken over by Richard, who was not the most confident of singers. He's become a really, really good singer. So the vocals maybe aren't the greatest thing on that record, but the song on this particular second record, but I think the song is very strong, and that's a great guitar solo from Richard on that.
Beautiful. Yeah.
Long story short, when I did the first record with Fairport, I was very much a deer in the headlights. I had no real concept aesthetically of what was going on. I didn't really get it. I was just responding to the information, the musical information they were giving me. By the time that record came about in 1970, the light bulb had started to glow a little brighter, and I kind of got what they were trying to do, which was basically England's version of what the band did for American music. They were trying to drag English traditional music kicking and screaming into the 20th century, but play it with electric instruments, blah, blah, blah. So at that point, John, I felt I was starting to get a little bit more of an aesthetic handle. I'd also stopped trying to, I hadn't quite got there, but I turned the corner on trying to play everything and show everybody how clever I was. I can hear me starting to exercise some restraint on that. It maybe doesn't sound like it, but I can hear me, I'm starting to get a handle on trying to play in time and trying to be a little bit more supportive to the song and the vocalist, and a bit less clever and, hey, look at me and listen to this amazing double stroke roll and blah, 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 blah. So I'm getting the hang on that. And then as a side issue from a sound point of view, when I started recording in 70, it was the back end of a sea change in recording studios. The world had gone from everybody being in the same room, in a large room with maybe one or two mics at best on the drums, to multi-tracking, which meant they could multi-track the drums, and sometimes the drums were in a separate room. I think on that recording, they weren't. I think apart from the vocals, I think everybody played together in the same time. We'd certainly not arrived at that stage where everyone was tracking individually. That was a long way off. But I think everybody was playing and singing pretty much at the same time, but there was a little bit more control because you had the drums maybe on 2 tracks. If it was 8-track, you had the drums on 2 tracks, the bass on 1, blah, blah, blah. So that starts to affect the sound, but it also starts to affect how drummers in particular tune, because we've gone from being in a very large room all together to suddenly, well, if not suddenly, but being in a smaller room that's a little deader. And one of the things that I initially struggled with was when I started doing freelance work, was I'd go from a small booth, very dead booth, and I'd try and make my drums sound good in that booth. And then the next minute I'd be in the middle of Olympic or Abbey Road, this great big room, and the drum sound would either disappear or it wouldn't fit the music or blah, blah, blah. And I started to get a handle on what acoustics do to drum sounds. What an acoustic room, like if you've got a nice live room like you've got behind you, you've probably got your drums tuned knowing you that sound great in that room. And I imagine most of the time you take them on a gig and they sound great. Once in a while you take them on a gig and they go, what happened to my drum sound? It's too splashy, it's too dead, it's this, that, the other. And I started to get a handle on the extent to which not only the engineer affects the sound, the ultimate sound, but the extent to which acoustics, it's like when people say, well, how do you tune a drum? Or what are you talking about? Your local pub with carpet everywhere, or the Albert Hall? So
Yeah.
that was a start of a very long and steep learning curve, and continues to be. So that particular track is kind of representative, I feel, of me at the cusp of getting hold of a combination of understanding the basics of acoustics in recording studios, and also an aesthetic thing with starting to get a handle and have a better appreciation of songwriting and song and playing drums for songwriters. End of
Yeah.
rant.
No, Dave, no, that's beautifully put. And I will tell you that many comments people posted while listening. Somewhere back a few comments ago, someone mentioned what a deep groove, and that was the first thing I thought of too. Is that you're playing at this slow tempo, but you're making it groove so nicely. Which is for a lot of drummers, myself especially. For me, the hardest thing is to make it groove and feel really good at a slow to medium tempo like
So
that,
tempo, yeah.
and it
Yeah, it
really
is.
it
It,
sits
it, well,
beautifully.
thank you. And it continues to be. I mean, it, I wouldn't say it comes easy, but it's something I think we all become conscious once we stop, once we get past this, John. Once we get past that, we realize that the slowest stuff is kind of, it's not as easy as it may seem.
Yeah, well, you're the master at that, because so many of these songs. Well, we're going to listen to a few today, where again you've mastered that art, that ability to play these. And like you say, it's the average listener could be listening thinking, well, what's the big deal with that? It's just a slow song. But that is the beauty right there, is that like the average listener isn't even really thinking about it. They're just hearing this great feel and this great groove. They're not, us drummers are going, holy shit, like that feels so good. It's such a, it's such a slow tempo. It just
Well,
sits so beautifully.
and I'm the same when I hear my favorites, the Jack Brunos and the Jordans and the Gads and the, all those, with Matt Wilson or whoever
Yeah.
play those kind of tempos, and you realize for me, listening to those masters, Brian Blade, God knows, there's hundreds of them, that it's, yeah, it's a different kind of technique. There's the technique that most people, average people, respond to is
Yeah.
that one, but there's another or I should say an additional type of technique that requires yeah, playing that stuff. And again, John, I'm sure you and I and many others would agree, it's as well as playing at the appropriate tempo, making it feel good. I mean, without getting into, I don't wish to be disparaging, and I'm certainly not going to name names, but some people play those kind of tempos, and it sounds like a machine,
Hmm.
And I think one of the challenges that and it got aimed at me, John, and it's something that over the last kind of 10, 20 years that I've worked hard at, is to make things steady, for want of a better turn of phrase, but also to make them feel good. And that
Hmm.
that becomes another thing in itself,
Yeah.
because these days everybody plays in time. Or if they're not playing in time, they probably haven't got a gig. You know what I'm saying? Or
Yeah.
maybe they
Yeah.
have. But relatively speaking, everyone is much more conscious of their time these days. So I think that the challenge for me is to try to keep it steady, but also, as you say, to try and make it feel good. That's what I'm trying to do. Yeah,
Yeah. And I, and
and
I,
not step on the vocalist.
Not yeah, no. And Adam Nussbaum, who had mentioned earlier, he said, "Slow and simple is never easy," and he said, "Meet in the beat." And I think that's perfect. It's just
That's a
like,
good phrase.
yeah, it's like making it feel. To me, that is exactly what you're saying. That making it feel good. It's one thing to play it slow, but it could have no feel behind it. When some people try to just are just so hung up on playing it slowly, it doesn't have any sort of thing to it. But yeah, it's
My friend Paul Clavis came out with a great phrase, which I think you'll love, and I think a lot of people will love. We were listening to a player, um, and again, no names, no pactoral, as we say in the UK. Um, and I said, he's playing really good, and it was close to machine like. And Paul Clavis just said, "Yeah, where's the sex?"
yeah, yeah,
And I went, oh, Paul has a habit of coming out with very succinct phrases
yes,
you just go, oh, that's hit the money, that's hit the nail
yeah,
right on the head. You know,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. Yeah, no, it's yeah. I mean, it's we're going to get to some great tracks, and I think it's worth mentioning that song 1970. Obviously, no click tracks. You're in there recording it live in real time with with no net, so to speak.
Uh-huh.
And it's and it's no, and it's just it felt perfect. It felt beautiful and it grooved and it breathed. It's the essence of what us drummers really want to sound like to me. That's what that was.
I thought my grandfather did a really good job on that track, John, I must admit.
Is there anything more you can share about? I know 1970, gosh,
Yeah.
54 years ago.
Yeah, what do you want to
You
know?
you weren't playing Yamaha yet, quite yet, but
No. No, I didn't hook up with Yamaha till 1980. I've been with Yamaha since 1980. Back then, I can remember that kit, and I sold it to a friend of mine who's looked after it, and he's still got it. That was a round badge Gretsch kit with a 22, 13, 14, 16, and the snare drum which I used on that, which I've still got, I'm pleased to say, and I used on a lot of early recordings, was one that I think you have. It's a round badge chrome over brass Gretsch snare drum,
yes,
but the big light bulb glowing moment for me was when I swapped, in particular, the top hoop,
hmm,
the cast top hoop, for a triple flange,
yes, I've
which
yep,
it doesn't make you lose definition when you play cross stick because it's not as loud. But for me, I most of the time when I play my backbeats, it's a combination of the somewhere sometimes in the middle, sometimes off middle, but I'm playing the head and the rim at the same time. And when I play a drum with a die cast rim, I hear too much rim in
yeah,
proportion to the sound of the drum. The only drums where that doesn't happen for me is with the Yamaha aluminium cast rims, because the aluminum. I'm sorry about that, John. Um, the the the
I knew
aluminium
what
is
you
a
meant.
the aluminium is a softer material. But
Yeah,
basically, when I changed that top hoop on the Gretsch over to a triple flange, I was able to play the backbeats, and the sound of the rim being struck wasn't dominating the sound of the drum for the way I play and the way I
yeah,
tune. I
yep.
hear other guys do play those rims with those diecast rims, and I go, that sounds fantastic. So that's a very, very subjective
Hmm.
take.
And
Yeah.
when you play just a regular backbeat without hitting the rim, just a like a center
Yeah.
hit, is it
Yeah.
pretty much the same sound with the triple flanged and a die cast? Do you notice a difference in the tone of the drum even without the rim shot, without the rim part
Okay.
of it?
Two-part answer. I don't hit the middle of the drum and not the rim very often.
Ah,
I
okay.
might do it. I might do it now and again. Um, if someone's looking for that, dare I say, another one of my heroes, that Mick Fleetwood kind of real big fat thing,
Yeah,
that
yeah,
that fat snare drum. But most of the time, I'm hitting the rim. Does it change the sound? Yes, because cast rims on a snare drum, they do tend to close the drum down.
yeah,
They do
yeah.
tend to close it down. So if you put a triple flange, you're immediately opening the drum up a little bit more.
That's great. That's great
Stay with
information.
me, John. Stay with me. Keep drinking the coffee, John. Stay with me. Stay with me.
No, that's great information. And I knew that was your little trade secret, the triple flange on a Gretsch snare. And I know I know you're partial to those Gretsch chrome over brass snare drums. Beautiful drum.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I had one too many. I had a snare drum cull a couple of years ago, and I sold a nice one to um, uh, English drummer. Does a million sessions. He's a fantastic player.
Ash Zone. No.
Ash, thank you.
Ash.
Sorry,
Yeah.
sorry, Ash. I just blanked there for a second. I'm very old. Yeah, I sold it to Ash, and he absolutely loved it just as it was, with a triple flange
Yeah.
on it, and
Yeah.
it was a round badge with a side drop. Blah blah blah.
Hmm.
Yeah, I know. I know. As a although I'm a Yamaha guy, I obviously can safely confess that I do have a closet fondness for some Gretsch drums. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. No, I think they understand that. I think I think the business has come a long way in terms of drum companies accepting that drummers can't use just one snare drum that's made by the Yamaha makes
Yeah.
beautiful drums and they make beautiful snare drums, but there's yeah.
Well, when I play
Yeah.
out live, I'm always Yamaha, and in the studio, 95% of the time I'm using Yamaha drums, but the snare drum is the thing,
Yeah.
unsurprisingly, that gets changed. Yeah.
Yeah, because yeah, understandable. Well,
Yeah.
Dave, let's skip ahead a few years to a record you did with
All
Joan
right, John,
Armatrading.
that was a few
Stay,
years into the future.
stay with me, young man.
All right, I'll do the best I can. Right, where
Uh,
do you want to go to?
yeah, I was going to go a couple of years later to 1976, Joan
Mhm.
Armatrading. And this record, was this the first record you did with Joan? And
Yes.
it was,
Yeah,
okay.
it was
And
her
you've done
second.
several.
Yeah, no, just a couple. It was her second. The first one I kind of did okay, but this one, the one that's got Love and Affection on it, which I played on,
Yes.
was the one that kind of, inverted commas, broke her to a bigger audience. And I did the bulk of the tracks, and I think is it two or three tracks? It's me and Kenny Jones, double
Yes.
drummer,
Yep.
which was a lot of fun. We set up in the middle of Olympic. Um, Glyn Johns had us, I think, side by side, three mics on each kit.
Wow.
Yeah,
Okay. I'm
yeah.
I'm gonna play a
That's
track.
another learning curve there, which I can talk to you about.
Yeah,
You
and
yeah.
was that the first time you'd recorded with another drummer? Was that the first
I
session you'd
think it
done,
was.
double drumming?
Yeah, I think it was. I might have done the odd track, but that was the first that made it onto kind of like a professional recording. Yeah,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
Kenny was an absolute sweetheart, and yeah, we had a
He's
lot of fun.
I had Kenny on with me. Gosh, it's been a few years now. I want to say in 2021 possibly, and he mentioned this. He mentioned recording with you. I remember that. I have to go back and in the course of just talking about different sessions that he's done.
That
Just
is great.
yeah. And he
I'm
said
flattered he remembered because I mean, God, his career, he's played with another guy that's done a few important gigs.
he's done, and I think he was trying to make the point that people think of him as the drummer with the Faces or the drummer with the Who,
Yeah,
but he was trying to make the point that he had a a bit of a career as a session player
freelance
there, and
career, yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
and that was one of the records he mentioned. So this is great. This is a great song, I think, to really showcase you and Kenny playing together. Join the Boys, Joan Armatrading, 1976. Dave Mattacks, Kenny Jones, and Glenn Johns produced it. Did he engineer as well? Do you remember?
Oh yeah,
Of
yeah.
course. Okay. Yeah.
Oh yeah, yeah. I'll tell you a couple of Glyn anecdotes
All right. Well,
afterwards, which
let's
I
give
think
a
I may.
listen to this.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, go for it.
Fantastic. Here we go.
everywhere, looking around for a helping hand. We're doing our best to keep it steady, but it's falling down around us. Blows keep coming fast and strong. I done found another fellow, he agrees with my direction. Arms around each other's shoulders, we go everywhere. Are you in? Are you out? Are you in? Are you out? Are you in? Are you out? Do you care to dance about and shout? John Jack and the boys being a band doing a one-night stand. We'll be dancing in the floodlight, second to none, not even on a bad night. Dancing in the floodlight, second to none, not even on a bad night. We'll succeed where others failed and stay together many years and watch us take the world by storm. Are you in? Are you out? Do you care to dance about and shout? John Jack and the boys being a band doing a one-night stand. Are you for or against us? We are trying to get somewhere, looking around for an extra man. We're doing our best to keep it steady, stop it falling down around us. Blows keep coming fast and strong. I done found another fellow, he agrees with my direction. Arms around each other's shoulders, we go everywhere. Are you in? Are you out? Do you care to dance about and shout? Join Jack and the boys being a band doing a one-night stand. We've been dancing in the floodlight, second to none, not even on a bad night. We've been dancing in the floodlight, second to none, not even on a bad night. We've been dancing in the floodlight, second to none.
Man.
That's Rabbit from who was the Who's keyboard player playing
Yes.
piano and organ. God, man, he's so good.
And
He
who's
was so
playing
good.
bass on that, Dave?
That's Dave Marquis, who's sadly no longer with us.
Oh, sorry,
He
man.
and I did a lot of stuff back in the day together. Dave Marquis, yeah, was
Yeah.
a fine bass player.
What a
Jerry
great bass
Donahue
player.
on electric, and Joan. That's Joan playing acoustic. And I remember that that was my idea, and that was when I nod my head, hit it, and we were looking at each other, and it was like, okay, let's play that drum fill now.
Oh,
Yeah,
man.
relatively speaking, seat of your pants stuff, I suppose. But yeah, and it was Kenny playing the basic groove with the bass drum on the back of the beat, and I think it starts off. I'm playing like a train beat on the snare drum,
Yeah.
but that's Kenny's groove. It starts off with Kenny's groove.
It's
It was a lot of
beautiful.
fun. I just remember that there's that one and another track on that. Anyway, blah blah. Lot of
And
fun.
was that an early take? Was that? It seems like it seemed really fresh and not
Oh yeah,
overdone. Probably like a
yeah,
first
yeah.
or second take.
I'd say second
Yeah.
or third. I mean, Glyn, come on, get it together. What's the matter with you? You know,
Glyn Johns?
in a in the nicest possible way, but truly, Glyn just doesn't suffer fools
Mhm.
gladly, and as I say, never in an obnoxious way, but just, come on, let's
I've heard that
go.
about him. Yeah.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, and maybe I think the first time I rolled up, I maybe the previous session I'd done, there was a lot of tape on the drums and things were pretty damped down. I go, right, get all that crap off, your drums, and I tuned, because it was him and because it was Olympic and a much bigger, liver room. I tuned up, all the toms went up.
Yeah.
Took the damping off the snare, although my snare drum on that track sounds deader than Kenny's, but that was Glyn's thing. He
Yeah.
he wanted the big picture, that's how he recorded the Bonzo on the first Zeppelin record, which he did,
Yeah.
3
Yeah.
mics, and
Yeah.
then of course John took it to another level on subsequent recordings. But yeah, but you can't. I say you can't. It's not advisable, if you're going to tune a set of drums the way John did it, to put them in a small dead room.
Mhm.
It kind of works, but it doesn't work. If you tune that way, double-headed and high, which is how John tuned, you need to get the air around the drums. You need a big live room.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then the mic positioning becomes crucial, and you don't put the mics
Mhm.
there on each of the drums. When I was working with Jimmy on Death Wish 2, I asked him if I could go to a Zepp session at Olympic, and he was tracking guitars on the day I went with him. Bonzo's kit was set up in the middle of the room, and it was multi-mic'd. There was 2 overheads, bass drum, snare drum, but I remember he had 87s on the toms, and each of the 87s was about 18 inches away from the drums.
Wow.
Each of the mics was
Yeah.
about this way, pointed in the general direction of the drums. There was nothing like that.
Yeah.
And then I think John could take it to another level, where he would, as he learned more about acoustics and rooms, he'd go, no, put the microphone there, maybe a bit higher there, and he would tune for that room. But when you tune that way, that ostensibly big band tuning, which is what his approach was,
Mhm.
it doesn't really work if you stick them in a small booth with cardboard boxes all over the
Right.
place. It doesn't translate. And that's the thing that he really learned, and I started to learn about around that time.
Yeah. That's a great drum sound, a great drum track, and there were little sounded like little press rolls and little subtle things that were happening at maybe early in the track. I'm guessing that was you doing that? Those little
Guilty.
No, and I'm not saying it in an accusatory way. It just it complements the basic track that Kenny's playing, as you know what I'm saying. But yeah, I wonder that when I listen to it, like I'm thinking that's DM. Those little tasty bits right there. Yeah.
Me trying to do my best Kenny Clare meets Jim Keltner impersonation. What can I
Wow.
tell you?
I think Jim would tell you he does his best Dave Mattacks impersonation as often as he can. He's a big fan of yours. You know that.
By the way, is he back with Bob still at the moment?
He is. His internet connection is unstable. Okay. I spoke with him last week, I think, or the week before,
Right.
and he was just heading out with Bob. He was on his way to the airport.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. We had a great chat, and I won't take up a lot of time here, but he was, he's just,
Is he enjoying? I'm sure he's enjoying. I mean, they go back, Jesus, what, 40, 50 years?
50, he said 1970 was when he first
Was he
recorded
really?
with Bob. Yeah.
Right.
And
Yeah.
he said it's kind of like the only gig he'll go out on the road to do at this point.
Right.
And he said something like, it's the only chance I get to hang with Bob, because you can never get the guy on the phone. And I'm thinking, yeah, no kidding, I can never get him on the phone.
It's an issue we all have.
I'm going to tell him next time I talk to him, Dave Mattacks was saying the same thing. He can never get Bob on the phone.
No, it's such a drag. He's either lancing the cat's boil or he's doing something.
Well, and so that drum kit, 1976, still the Gretsch kit, probably. That was your kit.
A different Gretsch kit. That was a 2012, 14, 16. Same
okay.
snare drum, I think.
Yeah,
same snare.
Yeah. And you said double-headed toms, tuned high, open.
Definitely on that. Yeah, I would always crank them if I knew I was working with Glyn or I was working in a big studio. At that point, I'd just about started to get the hang on doing that because it's that thing when if the room is very live and you have to kind of play the cymbals a little bit quieter, but if you play this, if the drums are, it's that thing. It's the internal balance thing, John, that you and I have talked about. If you imagine the world's best microphone behind you and you're using, the new 26-inch Mega Bell ride cymbal, and you've got pinstripes and duct tape on your toms, the only thing that microphone's going to hear is the cymbals. So you have to kind of adjust your playing and your touch, but also the way the drums sound. I mean, this is something that the jazz guys have known from beat one, but it's taken the inverted commas the rock guys a while to get that.
That's great information, though. And the bass drum, I'm guessing, was it front head on there still, or had you taken
not for me?
No,
I had a hole in it. Yeah,
you had a hole in it back then. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Ahead of your time. 1976. There weren't a lot of ported bass drum heads, but you're an innovator. So.
Well, I was looking around, and again, because I was predominantly working in smaller studios. When I say smaller, I don't necessarily mean stature, but in these booths where the drums were dead, you can't, the first thing they would do is ask you to take that front head off, because in those days, everybody was at that point, post Beatles, everybody was sticking the bass drum mic inside the front head. And I just thought it was easier. I'd rather than argue with the engineer, because I was like all of us, John. I was respectful of the engineer, and if the engineer says, this is what, because again, without making a big deal of it, I've never really subscribed to that as a freelance player. I've not really subscribed to that. This is my sound, deal with it kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
I think if you're in a band, you can say that, but as a freelance player, you have to go with what the engineer and what the artist wants.
Yeah. We'll move on to another Joan Armatrading song. I think it's a beautiful song, and in this particular one, you've got two pretty good sidemen playing with you on this one. This is a few years later. Yeah, that's a pretty good guitar player and a pretty good bass player and other great musicians. And this is The Shouting Stage from 1988, Joan Armatrading. And the two sidemen I'm referring to, and I know there are many other great players on this track, but we're talking about Mark Knopfler and Pino Palladino. And this is just a beautiful, beautiful song that, again, it's, Dave, I had so much fun. I just want to say before I start playing this, I always, in preparation for these shows, I make a playlist of the songs that I'm going to, I try to get familiar, obviously, if I'm not already familiar with them. And I go up from my morning run and I listen to these songs. And the songs that we're listening to here were just so joyful and perfect for like going out and just, you like keeping your head clear and really enjoying the music and listening to it. And this song, I wasn't familiar with this track, I have to be honest with you, and it's a real treat. So thank you for pointing me toward it.
She's a great songwriter, and her vocal on this track is just tremendous. Yeah,
that's fabulous. Yeah, it really is. All right, so here comes The Shouting Stage from 1988. The great Dave Mattacks on drums.
your mind's played a trick on me. I thought that I'd be with you all the time, and I'd be fine. Yeah, I'd be fine. I swear you have my feelings under thought control. I know you've taken such a hold on me. I'm thinking more and more of what we had before. Before we lost it at the shouting stage. Before the days we'd sit there side by side without a word, and how that hurt. How could eternal love made above? We were so in love. We were joined up at the sides. How could two people be as one, blind from the same light? Be out of love with love in no time. I thought we had it made, but my mind's played this trick on me. I thought that I would see you all the time, and I'd be fine. I'd be fine. I swear you had no feelings, or you'd call me home. I know there's no one else. There's no one else. Is there? I'm thinking more and more of what we had before. We lost it at the shouting stage. Before we lost it at the shouting stage.
Some mighty fine bass playing and guitar playing and singing, eh?
Oh my gosh. Wow. And
Yeah.
the drumming, Dave. We should have probably played that last because it's going to be hard. I mean, there's some other great songs I want to play, but that I was thinking like,
A great
you know,
song.
Oh my God, keeping it chronologically, that's next. But I just have a couple of comments I just want to share, if you don't mind, or observations. But
Yeah.
all the songs up till now, you're playing as always, was beautiful and perfect. But this song, it when I was listening to it over and over the past week now, it sounds to me like you got to a point where you're so confident, your playing is so confident. It's like it just feels like and sounds like you've settled into this spot, like you know exactly what to play. There's no guessing on your part. What's going to work for this part of the song, these sections, you're choosing to play acrostic, you're playing, it's just like you're driving each section to each new phase of the song so perfectly and setting up all those spots for
Okay.
Mark. And
Okay. So thank you. Couple of things kind of about that. I never start off thinking about the drum beat. I'm thinking about the chord sequence because as you and I think some people know, I started off on piano.
yeah,
So I'm hearing the harmonic changes as well as the sections. That's the first thing. That's much more important to me than the drum. The drum beat that'll evolve, but I'm hearing where the song's going. Now, going off kilter to that sensibility, I remember now we cut that at Joan's house. She had a studio in her house, and the drum room was not huge, but it wasn't small, but it was incredibly live. Really, really like almost over the top live. And I thought, if I go to full snare, I'm gonna kill everything.
yeah,
So that's
okay.
why I'm pretty much on cross stick on the whole thing, because the sound, when I heard the first run through, I heard the cross stick and I thought that's strong enough and loud enough because of the acoustics in the room.
Yeah.
I can play a press roll and do some other fart-ass things, but I don't need to because the sound of the cross stick is so strong. So what can I do to change the sections? Half time to just playing double time, but just playing 4, blah blah, and then repeating sections. So I'm much more concerned about harmonically what's going on than I am about coming up with a beat. I love that phrase.
Yeah.
I love that phrase of Tony Williams. I can teach the postman how to play a beat.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
That doesn't matter how to play a beat. That's not important. I mean, it is, and to play it well, but that shouldn't be your starting point. Your starting point is what's going to suit this piece of music that we're playing.
Well, that mentality is what separates the men from the boys. Truly, seriously, that's why.
Well, I'm working on
this.
it. I'm working. It's that's not false money. It's a work in progress. It continues to be a work in progress. Yeah.
A couple of things. So the cross stick had such a great ambient sort of reverb. Was that a lot of that like natural reverb from the room?
From what I can tell, it sounds to me like they've added it, but the room was very live. So they probably didn't. I think it's been added, but I don't think they had to add much. I think there is some's been added, but the room, I remember it was stone, which was for a drum room back then, was a little bit unusual. But again, John, fashions changed and things were starting to go away by then from the very dead, up front, in your face drum sound, more towards liver, more present sounds.
Ambient,
and I guess that must have had she must have been aware of that when the people helped design that studio for her.
Yeah. No, did you
forgive the interruption. I was so knocked out when that record came on, because I went, great, I'm on the same record as Manu Katché. I was so knocked out. I was like, great, I've made it onto a record that Manu's on, because he's on like half a dozen tracks.
Yeah.
Did you know that? Did you know he was on that one?
I did. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like, yeah.
Oh, that's great. Wow. Well, I was going to ask you, did you and Pino track at the same time? Did you guys?
Oh yeah,
You did.
yeah.
Okay. And
That's all tracked. That's all tracked at the same time. The only difference was, I think, Pino and Mark were in the control room, DI'd, or Mark was off to an amp somewhere. They were sitting in the control room, but that's us all playing live, and I'm
wow.
fairly sure that's to a click too.
Yeah. Yeah. It's what a song, just a beautiful. And so,
Oh,
and basically the process was Joan's, or is Joan's process that she probably played you like a demo of that song, sort of rough demo of where the changes were. And then I don't imagine
I
there were
think
no
she
charts or anything
no,
like that.
she'd probably no, she'd run it through. This is pre this is pre the era of everybody sending out demos in advance. I think you'd roll, if memory serves, we rolled up at the studio and it goes like this,
Yeah.
and you
Yeah.
rehearse it and run it through. I don't know how many takes. Um,
Man.
Not a lot, I would say. I'm guessing 3 or 4 takes maybe.
Yeah.
But the
Yeah.
main thing would be rehearsing in and working on it. That would be the thing, which is something that generally speaking is doesn't happen too much these days, which is unless you're you're Springsteen, or you've got the budget.
Yeah.
These days it's you've got to come up with the goods in half the amount of time. But
Yeah.
it is what it is.
It's different.
It is what it is. Yeah.
Well, gonna press forward here to, I usually don't take requests, but
Ah,
our dear friend Gary Marshall keeps saying, XTC, I think he requested My Bird Performs, which is the next song on the list of songs I'd like to play and have us talk about. So,
okay.
yeah, fast forward to 1992. This is just from the None Such record. This entire record is it's like a collection of hit songs. I think basically the entire record
The
is just,
songs are great, John.
oh
The
my God,
songs are,
yeah.
I couldn't agree. All the songs are so great. Yeah.
They're so great. And I have to think this is a record that not that you don't think fondly. I know you're very proud of all the work you do. And we were just talking about a song I know you're very proud of, but I would think you look back at this record because it's so highly acclaimed by so many people, the XTC record, and must feel very proud of your contribution to this great record.
Well, I think you'd have to be a real idiot not to play something really good as a drummer on these. The fact that I came up with something that works is great. But when the songs, again, cliche time, when the songs are that good, you've got to be a real nincompoop to screw them up. That's one thing. And the other thing is, I probably have more people ask me about that record than some of the others that I've played on.
Yeah,
But yes,
yeah.
it's and
It resonates. It really does.
it resonates with people.
Yeah.
Yeah, and yeah, and I'm but working with those guys was, I think all the drummers that have worked with them are all from Prairie Prince to all the guys. They've selected. We've all been very fortunate. Let's put it that way. We've all been very fortunate to work with them. Yeah.
Yeah, such a humble man. All right, well, this is My Bird Performs, XTC None Such record, 1992. The great Dave Mattacks.
Wine and designer stage and the highbrow pros. But my world shakes for me, my bird sings sweetly. The brightest fireworks are lighting up my sky. Yeah, my bird performs. The cage is open, but she's no desire to fly. 'Cause my bird performs. There she goes. And you keep saying what you got. You keep saying what you got. Look out. Fine art never moved my soul. My bird sings sweetly. A vintage wine's I work on. My bird sings sweetly. Shouts for your song, sings sweetly. My bird sings sweetly. Drama stage sings sweetly. My bird sings sweetly.
Fifty
Ah.
ways to leave your lover without the talent and the technique.
Oh my God. Uh,
I
that's
think
very
I
funny,
think
but-
I think it had been out a few years, and I remember when we started running that, I thought, I wonder if I can come up with like some kind of variation. Oh, how about this? And I think Andy went, yeah, that'll work. I went, right, okay, I'll do that.
Well, I got to say, earlier when you set this up, you said something like, you'd have to be an idiot to screw up these songs. Right here, I would have screwed that up right out of the gate. The beat, for lack of a better word for it, but what you chose to play there is just so perfect and so beautiful. It's just,
Well, thank
man.
you. You know what? Again, a part of what contributes to making it work is the musician's sensibility. Like Colin, the bass player, not trying to go bum da da dum ba dum ba da bum ba da, like playing a shitload
Yeah.
of notes, just going
Yeah.
bum 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 bum, because
Yeah.
you can't, so you got to have. It's got to be again, cliche time. It's got to be an ensemble thing, that you've got to have the musicians who have the ears and the sensibility to go, okay, if you're going to do that, then it's not appropriate for me to do this. Let me come up with something else. And I think when I came up with that, that's when Colin started playing whole notes.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
it's very much a contributive, an ensemble. Everyone's contributing.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's well said. Yep. And that's what it's all about. The collaboration for the goal of making a great song. I just sidetrack. I mentioned this the other day. I had the pleasure of seeing James Taylor the other night here in Boston.
Masterclass.
Masterclass. It was just, and it's exactly what you said, Dave. It was, Jimmy Johnson and Mike Landau and Steve Gadd and Luis Conte and Larry Goldings and James Taylor.
And Larry's back in the band now. Fantastic.
Larry's back in the band, and it's these A-list guys all playing together, and it there was never a moment where anybody's toes ever got stepped on. I mean, not that you would expect that, but it was just such a great collaborative, like beautiful, combination of all these great players making Great
It's so
music.
inspiring when you see that. I
Yeah.
went to see Bonnie Raitt a couple of months ago. Same kind of deal with my friend Duke Levine, and also,
Yeah.
the rest of the guys who I absolutely,
Yeah. Ricky and Hutch, I mean, I think
man,
that's one of the
that's a
greatest.
freaking rhythm section to die for,
Oh,
those guys.
man. Yeah.
Yeah.
Could listen to those guys all day, all night. Well, I want to play something else from Nonesuch, though. Um, all right. Well, that's my show. If you enjoyed it, give it a like, leave me a comment, and don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel. And remember, all podcasts are available on all the podcast platforms. So thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. And a reminder that Live from My Drum Room t-shirts are available for $25 in the contiguous US. And I'm going to give you the Venmo information so that you can purchase one. And I want to take a moment and thank everyone who's bought one already. A reminder that 100% of the proceeds go toward a scholarship at the Percussive Arts Society, PAS. And you're supporting a great cause when you buy one of these shirts. So the Venmo information, if you're listening and not watching this on YouTube, it's at John-DChristopher-2. You can also email me at livefrommydrumroom@gmail.com with any questions. All right, so thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. I really appreciate it. Remember, no drummers are harmed on any show. And drummers, when in doubt, leave it out. I'll see you again real soon.